Noob17 once again, introducing you to my Asura's Wrath hard difficulty video walkthrough. This is part 8, or episode 8, I believe it might be called, The Willing Sacrifice, or Our Willing Sacrifice, which is what I think it's called. And this is an 8-minute video for Asura's Wrath, so that tells you immediately that this is probably quite a long level. And I think I know why. I think this is one of the first battles you have against the turtles. And I really suck at fighting the turtles, so that's why this level is so long. And this section here, pretty damn simple. It's just, you know, Panzer Dragoon-esque shooting, strafing, all that good stuff, jumping. Do what you can, build your burst meter. You shouldn't have too much issue with this. When you get close to him, you can try and beat him up. I'm shooting him just because it's easier and I'm lazy. But there's no real, you know, challenge to this part. Just watch out for those fireballs on the ground. If you've ever played a Crash Bandicoot or a Donkey Kong, you should be fine with this section. But in the second area, you fight a boss which is harder than the last boss in my opinion, because it has a ridiculous amount of defense, so you don't build all that much burst off it, and it also can do some serious damage. And it's just one of those fights that I have not found a successful way of building burst against it, because everything you seem to do just doesn't really build all that much. And there's a part of my brain that remembers the last time I played this game that I'd actually found perhaps a strategy against the turtle. The only problem is I've played a lot of games since then, and because of the nature of splitting all these projects up and doing them at the same time, because I'm trying to pump out quite a lot of content, I do forget things. But the strategy that I like to employ on this guy is obviously evade whenever he does any kind of attack, because he really hurts. It's the spinning attacks that are the big ones. A good way of stunning him is to do the Y attack in his face. It'll generally interrupt his moves if you're lucky. Just bear in mind, if you're not in unlimited mode, you can only do it once and then there's the cooldown, and that can get you killed if you're not careful. The fireball attacks that you can see right now are not too bad as long as you're coming in and punishing him, and as you can see, the detection on them is a little bit sporadic, so sometimes you can get a lot of free shots off, other times you'll just get volleyed. You can also make him nod, which is pretty funny if you hit him in the face with your gun. The reason I'm doing this is it builds unlimited meter, and it'll enable me to start smashing him with Ys, which is a really good way of damaging him. But there you see how I press Y, it knocked him to his belly. Really useful. And if you do stay in front of him, you can do this move, which is a counter that does build the burst meter. The only problem is it completely fucks you, and it's the worst part about this fight. Your counter move to set him up to do a normal, you know, Y move when the opponent is on the ground is a complete betrayal, because it puts you to the back of him, and by the time you get to the front of him, which is where you can press Y to do a move, he's recovered. And the only thing I can think of is maybe if you stand near his tail in a specific area, maybe there's a Y prompt there, but I've never got one myself, so to me it just seems like bad game design. But as you'll notice, when you do get knocked away, if you can time the A button to recover, you will gain life back, which is really important in the longer fights against something as bullshit as this thing. Like right there, if that had given me the option to press Y, I would have built pretty much double what I have right now, or something along those lines. Like it would have literally doubled my burst meter, because I've done so little to him, and that's his spinning attack. Very dangerous. This is me spamming the Y button because I'm in unlimited mode, and you'll notice, oh no, it doesn't increase all that much at all. So yeah, it's just awkward, guys. It's literally a 5-minute fight against this fucking stupid turtle, and I don't really understand it. I don't really like it. And you're gonna fight another one of these, which is just as bad. And in a game that is pretty much flawless for what it does, in my opinion, these are the worst moments. The cool thing about the second encounter is there's actually enemies in the area with you, which will help you build your burst meter, and it's a really effective way to cheese the second turtle, because you can just build it off the enemies instead. Because this is not fun, this. Especially for a game that is as imprecise at times as Asura's Wrath. But it actually brings me to something quite topical. One of the things I don't like about this game is how it implements the inputs for the quick time. When you stun an enemy or knock them down, you can generally press Y when the prompt happens and do a counter move. The only problem with this system is if the computer doesn't acknowledge that you're in, you know, those specific requirements, it doesn't give you the prompt. And if it doesn't give you the prompt, you know, sometimes you can get screwed. And it's not your fault, it's just how the game is programmed. And there's another game very similar to this that is much older than this, and that is Resident Evil. And anybody that played Resident Evil 4 will know that they introduced this, like, I don't know if this was in the old ones, I don't think it was, because I don't think quick time events existed in the older games. But if you shot a zombie in the leg, it would stun them. They would, like, reach for the kneecap. And then a prompt came up on the screen where you could do a quick time move, which was generally a very devastating area of effect kick. And it made it so that not only could you save your ammunition and take out, you know, a considerable amount of zombies, but, you know, you could really efficiently handle groups of enemies if you were good at it. The only problem, once again, is sometimes you'd shoot them in the kneecap and it wouldn't work, or sometimes they'd go down into the squat and it wouldn't give you the prompt. And tonight I will be playing Resident Evil 6 because Aiden from the podcast actually got it. He got it on Saturday. And it doesn't come out in our country till Tuesday, so that is pretty fucking awesome if you ask me. The only problem is I didn't get it, so we can't, you know, play the game and then start doing the guide immediately, because it will be a co-op walkthrough of Professional with no inherited items. It will be from a new game. Because that's what we did with Resident Evil 5, and that's the reason that we had to do the public assembly with just the knife, because there wasn't enough ammo on that difficulty, and that was one of those really epic and amazing moments in my gaming life, because it was ridiculous, and we somehow figured out a really funny way to break the system, which involved, you know, both slashing different sides of a doorway, which would always catch and stun any zombies coming through. And I'm hoping that Resident Evil 6 is going to give us, you know, similar moments, because when we got to Wesker on that playthrough, we had no ammo whatsoever, so I was literally bait for the entire fight while Aiden used the very limited amount of ammunition that he had. It was a really epic playthrough, but unfortunately it was many years before I had capture equipment. But I'm hoping Resi 6, even though it does look a lot more action-packed, is going to give us similar moments. As far as a walkthrough goes for its functionality, I don't think it's going to be all that useful, because if it's anything like the previous Resident Evils, people will beat the first difficulty, then they'll take an unlimited ammo rocket launcher and just one-shot everything on the harder difficulties. So I don't know how well the guide's going to do, but I'm still going to make it, because I've kind of set my foundation on this channel by making walkthroughs regardless of numbers. That's the reason why I'm continuing Darksiders 2, even though that guide is practically dead and buried. And this one as well. Obviously this came much later than it should have done, but this is not a difficult game. This is a very simple game that is one of those that you have to experience rather than suffer through. And it's not getting the best views, but, you know, it's not about views sometimes. It's about enjoying what you do. Whenever you hear these, you know, these commentators that complain that they have to put up a certain specific thing, they don't. The reason why they want to, though, is because that's the one that gets them all that money that they like. But thanks for watching, and you take care now.